So Russia says that Ukraine has now attacked Putin's residence with 91 drones. Well, they didn't reach their target, but that was what they were aiming for in an attempt on the life of the Russian president. Zelensky counters this with saying that these are lies, it's a Russian false flag or a fake. How are you reading this situation?
If it was a Russian false flag or a fake, the West would be able to provide intelligence immediately, proving that they haven't provided that. So the fact that that's not being provided, coupled with Russia's insistence that it happened, and the international support that Russia is getting from China, India, other countries, it tells me that this was a failed attempt. Let's put it that way, because it would be easy to disprove. So I think it did happen. What, for me, the most important part of this is the timing of the event. The Russians claimed it started sometime late on the evening of the 28th and terminated early in the morning on the 29th. Well, the late in the evening on the 28th would be something like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Moscow time. But even let's say that it's midnight Moscow time. That's 4 p.m. at Mar-a-Lago, where Zelensky is meeting with Trump. I don't think Zelensky is cynical enough or stupid enough to be engaged in talks with Trump about trying to end the war, even though he may not want to end it, and then to authorize this kind of attack on Putin. I mean, this is a little bit like, the Japanese delegation meeting at the Secretary of War or Secretary of State on the morning of December 7th, 1941 in Washington, D.C. as the attacks unfolding out on Hawaii, sort of that kind of parallel situation. So this, I interpret that, we can take it a couple of ways. Either Zelensky knew and he authorized it and he was just sending a message of, hey, I'm a tough guy and we're not going to give in to these Russians, or it was done deliberately to embarrass Zelensky, and it was done by political opponents in Kiev, of which there are several. I have not seen any credible evidence indicating that Putin was actually at the residence in Novgorod. The fact that Putin has been squirreled away in the Kremlin apartment for most of the last 4 years was precisely to avoid this kind of risk, that he could be out at at a residence and could be attacked. So that's why it comes across to me not so much as an attempt to kill Putin, even though that's how the Russians are playing it, and that's how it's being, from the Russian side, messaged to the rest of the world. But it certainly was sending a message from the Ukrainian side that they're not interested in a peaceful negotiation with Putin. Glenn, the real irony here, and I think you understand this better than most, within the spectrum, the political spectrum in Moscow, Vladimir Putin's on sort of the mild, calm side of the ledger. I mean, he's not known for being an aggressive, violent, threatening, emotional kind of guy. Whereas you get someone like Dmitry Medvedev, he's a much hotter temper. He has the luxury of saying what he thinks. Putin always doesn't. So the fact that the Ukrainians want to kill a guy who's actually been somewhat restrained in going after Ukraine just seems completely paradoxical.
Well, this whole idea of a false flag, this is a reoccurring theme, though. I've heard that, throughout the past 4 years. We're told that Nord Stream was simply Russia attacking its own energy infrastructure. We're told with the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant under Russian control that the Russians were continuously bombing nuclear power plant. It's controlled itself. We saw that when the Kremlin was attacked by drones, this was also a false flag. Or one after the other, they always, tell these stories which are easy to debunk briefly thereafter or during. So it's I'm a bit critical whenever they make up when they make up these stories. But
Yeah.
I saw this video interview with Alexei Arestovich. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet.
No, I have not seen it. I've heard a little bit about it, but
it's he put up a clip of it on my Twitter because in this he argues that it's not just the residents, that there's also a nuclear command center there, and that this would also have been a target. And he also warned them that an attack on Russia's nuclear command center would then authorize the Russian nuclear doctrine to use a nuclear strike as a retaliation. Now, I'm not saying that Russia's going down this path. Indeed, I would be very certain that this is not in the cards. But, and also, this is not, the gospel either. This is just what Arestovich is arguing. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
it does look like a massive provocation, though.
Yeah, well, in fact, I had not heard that in its full context, and candidly, that may explain the intense reaction by the Russian side, because what I found sort of puzzling, the Russians didn't react this strongly when the Ukrainians hit the Kremlin back 2 years ago. And Putin was at the Kremlin then. They didn't. Russia did not react with the anger, the visible anger that we're hearing from people like Lavrov, Peskov, and others. So the fact that there may have been, in addition to that, is an official residence for Putin, but the location of a command center. That important, within, and it would make sense that you would want, if the president was going to be there, that he would be able to go into a bunker or something and to, direct Russia's nuclear forces. So that may be why they're reacting so strongly. And, we've had, it's not like this is the first time. We've had a series of incidents going back. Was it 2023 with the attack on the Crocus Theater, the government center, the killing of Daria Dugina, Alexander Dugin's daughter, the murder via assassination of that journalist. I forget his name, but he was given a gift of a statuette that blew up, killed him. You've had a couple of different, at least 3 generals that have been assassinated with car bombs. So those are all acts of terror. Then, the attack on the Kerch Bridge, which, the Ukrainians initially denied. So it's not like this has now crossed, there's something that happened here that represents crossing a line that up to this point, Russia has shrugged it off. And it now looks like they're not going to shrug it off. I just heard that there was a motion put forward in the Duma, the Russian legislature, to transform this from a special military operation to a war, issue a declaration of war. And that would be significant. People think that this, when Russia talks special military operation, it's just a word game. It is not a word game. It changes how Russia mobilizes and how resources are prioritized within the country for a war effort. So this is moving in a very dangerous direction.